Welcome everybody to Quamfy in the Lowlands, part
Yes.
one
Part
technically,
two.
because the other one was a pilot. So is that episode one? Then?
Okay, well then this must be episode 1.
So welcome.
Welcome everyone. We hope you enjoyed the pilot episode. I did a poll on Quant updates and people responded very positively actually.
That's on the Instagram.
Yeah, that's on Instagram. We also got some feedback on the other platforms. We got some feedback on YouTube where we are, and also on Telegram. Some people were happy with it, so we're just continuing this.
Yeah.
And yeah, well, we're going to cover the news of this week, some general stuff about Quant, and we're also aiming now to answer your questions that you've been asking us on Instagram. And yeah, just go from here, I guess.
Yeah, I have one request. Since probably some people are still listening right now. Do you guys want to see this show on Spotify? Let us know in the comments or on Quant updates, so the Instagram or through Telegram or whatever. We are open to the possibility because we heard from a lot of people that being on YouTube is a bit more difficult to continue living your life whilst listening to us ramble, because you need to keep the screen open, whatever. So with Spotify, you don't have that issue. So let us know if you're actually interested, so we can possibly set that up. And yeah, the questions from Instagram, it's going to be a nice, how shall we call that? A nice thread through the entire episode. Already checked out a couple of questions. A lot of questions are very familiar, probably. They start with when.
Yeah.
Or they are just when.
Yeah.
No need to dox the names, but when comes up quite a lot. We also got some more intriguing questions on Fnality from
Greg.
From Greg Lund. He's watching. Yeah. That's so awesome. And some other questions. Also, last week, Tim, what happened?
Last week?
Cryptoland.
Yeah. Oh, you mean in a general market? And
yeah.
It appears we have survived the bear market or the crypto winter for a bit. Actually, Bitcoin didn't tank all the way to 28K. We're actually on the way to 40 plus. No, we've already passed 40 plus. I don't even know where Bitcoin is at the moment.
Dollars or euros?
I was talking in burger tokens.
Burger tokens.
Talk, yeah, we can talk in euro. I think
even in euros, even in euros, we're nearly 40. It's nice. 39 to 33. So that's kind of 40K ish.
Yeah.
So that's
nice.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah.
Shitcoin portfolios are also recovering.
Yeah. So people screaming on crypto Twitter for 28K, they weren't right. Yes, they always are not right actually.
The majority never is, my man.
No, and in the past 7 days, Quant as well had a strong recovery. At some point, we were the top grower on the daily.
Yeah,
it's very nice to see the entire market being in the red and then us in the green.
Yeah, last Tuesday we were up 50% from the 7 days before that, and back then I calculated that must have been a 2x.
Yeah, that wasn't entirely correct.
Oh man, my math was so hilarious.
Yeah, well,
shit happens.
Degen math.
Yeah, crypto math, trader math.
Yeah, trader logic.
Yeah, no, but we're still up 30% on the Quant for the 7 days.
Yeah.
Now 131 euros.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I'm not really interested in the short-term price action, but I am interested in, however. Well, okay, sure.
a little bit.
I'm a bit of a liar. But I also know that I won't be selling anytime soon. So, sure, if we pump straight to 1K, I'll be selling a lot of my back because that's not sustainable. But for now, well, I don't really care about the. Sure, I check my portfolio a lot, but I don't think it's the most interesting thing of this podcast to discuss where we are heading on the short term, because you cannot really predict it.
Long-term predictions are way more reliable than
short-term noise. Yeah,
definitely. Oh, well.
But we did get some interesting stuff in the Dutch podcast. We obviously covered the newest release of Overledger 2.1.7, and we covered the new creation of QRC-20 tokens.
Yeah,
and we
with the
should do
tier
that here as
system.
well. Yeah.
Yeah, so they have yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No. Before we go into the tier system and Martin Hargreaves explaining the way you can create those tokens, it might be wise to go back a little bit and go back to the point of explaining in English, at least, because we haven't done that in this language, in this part of the podcast, about what QRC-20 actually is. Someone
we might even consider, Tim, going back to what is Quant, because did we actually adequately address this in this series? I think we did not, and from what I see on the questions on the Instagram, I think people could use some TLDR on on what Quant is, or you're like, nah, let's just skip to the QRC part.
No, I think we can do a little TLDR on what Quant actually is, especially when we consider this episode 1.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so in short, Quant Network. Quant Network is a fintech company, and they do not identify themselves as being a blockchain or a crypto company at all. They do not focus on retail. They focus on business to business, enterprises, banks, governments, those types of entities. They have from the beginning been pretty clear about that they want to onboard customers at the size of continents, instead of, and this is Gilbert's example, being XRP and going from one bank to another bank to another bank. You can just approach SIAnet, the biggest payment infrastructure in Europe, and just book them, and then add like 580 banks in one go. Negotiations are a little bit longer and a little bit more complex, maybe, but you just onboard like everything in one go, and that's how they've been going about that since the beginning. Also, and that's when you get like the partnerships, when you onboard entire ecosystems, because that's what they're technically doing. You're growing your company exponentially, and that should sound very interesting to crypto people, because we always want to exponentially grow everything. But what does Quant Network then provide? To keep that really simple, they are a technology provider, and they provide a solution, an operating system for blockchains, DLT, and legacy, and that's called Overledger, and that's the offline instance. Then they also have the Overledger Network, which is then, as you might suspect, a network, so that's branching out to other networks to make it like a big internet of trust, internet of value, internet of blockchains, DLT, Web3, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, it's pretty much the same thing as Web3, actually. It gets a bit technical here, but we're talking about the same thing roughly.
Yeah. And what are we investing in? Because we're investing in the Quant token, and the Quant token is an ERC-20 token, being it's on the Ethereum network. But that's where the crypto, in a way, ends, the crypto associations, because the Overledger and Overledger Network does not reside on the Ethereum network. It is its own beast, like it, like Microsoft Windows or Apple have their own operating systems. They do not reside on a specific blockchain. It's all their own entity. So why is there a token? The token is there to license everything in a way. There are 14.6 million tokens, 14,612,469.96, well, something like that. very few tokens. Bitcoin has 21 million. We have 14.6 million. And the token is needed for everything. If you want the license, you have to pay for that in QNT. Or, and that's the best part, companies pay in fiat. So that's euros, dollars, pounds, whatever. And the treasury, which is kind of like the centralized part of Overledger, they convert that to QNT. And those tokens are being locked for the duration of the license. So say Tim buys an Overledger license. I am the treasury. The license for Tim, because he's a very, very big enterprise with more than 1,000 developers. So he pays me €1 million. And he gives me €1 million. Today the price is, and now I'm going to fuck up on the math, is €100, meaning I lock up 10K QNT for the duration of his license. So that's 1 year. So that means that 10K QNT is out of circulation for the duration of his contract. Those tokens are his, by the way. Then he starts using Overledger Network. For every transaction, QNT is needed. Every transaction needs to be secured and signed and paid for in QNT. So that's all pure utility. Then Tim is a smart puppy. He wants to verify his own transactions. So what does he do? He gets a gateway, remote connector gateway. Remote connector gateways are not here yet for us, the common plebs, the retail. We expect that shortly.
Yeah.
But for enterprises, they are there, and they can Tim can either ask me to run a gateway for him, so they do not have to buy any QNT tokens themselves, because tokens are liability companies, banks, etc. don't want any tokens at all. So we can take that off his hands, but it will still be his gateway.
Yeah.
The more QNT he stores in his gateway, the higher the priority on the network his gateway is, and the more traffic it can transact. And I can't find the word for it, but the more traffic it gets.
Yeah.
And that means that Tim is incentivized to lock up as many QNT tokens in his gateway as possible. So he gets most of his transactions over his own gateway, because transaction cost QNT. So if you can transfer, or if you can if you can verify your own transactions, you can pay yourself for doing that with QNT. So you're actually saving money. So why do we have the token? Because decentralization is important for the security of the network. Because if Tim sends a transaction to his friends, he wants at least 10 other nodes to also send that transaction, so that all those transactions contain the same data. And if that doesn't happen, then he can ask the majority what was correct and what is not. So that's kind of like the security thing. And to get that going, the retail, us, gateways are going to be essential. That's why we have the token. And every gateway operator will get paid in QNT.
Yeah. Yeah,
In a nutshell.
that is in a nutshell what we are investing in, and definitely this is way more complex than just a story Jarno put out there.
And choked on a couple of times.
Yeah, well, that's you would do that in Dutch as well. I think it's
Yeah.
a complex story. It's a complex narrative.
Yeah.
Yesterday, someone compared it to fast food. He said, "Imagine you want to get a Big Mac with twister fries, a bucket from KFC, and then a milkshake from McDonald's. How are you going to do that?" Well, that's basically what you want to do there with Overledger. It just made me hungry instantly. But there are all kinds of ways to kind of explain this, and I don't really think that there is one way to do it, because it's complex material. But if you understand in essence what we are doing, and the fact that there is no competition, even with CCIP from Chainlink, which was kind of on our radar, but then
Yeah, there was
dropped
this
away quite fast by a video where Chainlink said, "Well, it's in development, but it's not there yet, so we have no clue what it is going to do."
Yeah, there was a video recording. I'll you want me to bring that up for a bit?
Well, not
No?
really.
Okay.
We can bring it up, but I don't think it's relevant. I think I'll do a post on it on Instagram.
Yeah. Well, the TLDR is I'm looking here at the video from Chainlinks Labs with 2 people working there and the CTO from Alliance Block. They were talking about that. They were gonna
CTR? What's
yeah CTO. Did I say
that?
CTR?
CTO, the Chief
Yeah.
Technology Officer. Yeah. Okay.
My bad.
No, it's fine.
But they were talking about what AOBT and Chainlink are going to do together, and everybody was fucking hyped about that. It appears to be a price feed through oracles. I laughed. I can imagine some people were disappointed.
Price feed?
Yeah, a price feed for I think Link USD or something like that. Yeah, it was a little bit of a yeah.
What is a price feed?
A price
Sorry.
feed. A price feed. Whenever the price goes up or down on the market,
Yeah.
you need to ask for that price on a platform. Say we want a price feed in our podcast in the top right. We have to tap into an API or query a certain website.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
Chainlink is going to provide the price feed for AOBT for a certain pair for trading.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's like the AccuWeather thing.
Yeah, but yeah.
So they provide the data through their Oracle system, and that's it. But they were also talking about how CCIP is being developed and what stages they are in, and they're technically, well, they're specifically saying we don't know yet. We're still at the drawing board, and some of the brains, in council concluded that they're at least 4 years behind from this point. Compared to Overledger. So their idea is there and it should do the same as Overledger. It just isn't coded yet.
It's still just on the drawing board.
Nice. Yeah.
Well, and that's exactly my point. There is no competition at this point. Sure, you have Polkadot, and you have Cosmos, but it's not the same thing. It's not the interoperability that Overledger is providing.
That's the application layer. So that's like layer 3, layer 4. And
something like that. Yeah.
We operate on layer 7.
Yeah, there are like 7 levels of interoperability, and well, all the competition is not on our level, literally. And well, there might be some other solutions, also some in-house solutions from technology companies.
Really curious.
Yeah, but from what we know at the moment, there is no clear competition yet. So yeah.
If you really think your project is also providing any-to-any interoperability, meaning they can have a blockchain, say Bitcoin, talk to a legacy system without issues, or have multiple blockchains work together in one dApp. Overledger can, for instance, do that. They can create an MDApp. It's a multi-dApp, and a dApp is kind of something like Uniswap or MetaMask. It's a digital application. With Overledger, you can actually use the encryption of Bitcoin, the speed of XRP, and the smart contracts from Ethereum to get one single app, and you just use the parts you selected from that specific blockchain or DLT or legacy system, and it's just seamless. And it is not a blockchain. It uses Kubernetes to scale infinitely, meaning that there's no maximum transactions per second or any other data bottleneck. Well, it makes it just perfect for literally anything to anything. And I'm really curious if you can find us something that does the same. Well, definitely have a look at it and see what we think, because we are also looking for quote unquote competition, because that's what actually keeps us sharp, and we're still investors. So
yeah, if
there's
you can
literally
show us something that gets close, please do.
Yeah,
because we will critically look at it. But for now, we don't really know what is out there. So yeah, that brings us into this unique value proposition that QNT is.
Are
we
we
were
ready
doing this for a specific question. We did all the introduction to talk about something. What was it again?
QRC.
QRC.
Yeah,
So yeah, so we have QNT tokens. We have Overledger, which is the operating system which connects all networks. And to access that operating system, you need ERC-20 tokens, so tokens on the Ethereum blockchain, which are called Quant. And then we are talking about another type of token that we can now create, and that's QRC-20. So what exactly is that? How are we going to explain this?
Yeah, well,
it remains tricky.
In a way, the QRC-20 token standard, smart contract standard, is kind of like an MLT, a multi-ledger token. And I'm butchering this. I'm not a tech guy at all. No. And I called it an MLT before, and then I was corrected. But it's its own standard. It's a way to communicate on multiple chains and blockchains at the same time. And you can literally, just like on the Ethereum network, create your own project / token. So there were people creating Shiba Inu. There were people creating, I don't know what kind of strange tokens. But you can do that pretty quickly. And if it is QRC-20, it could technically reside on everything. So it can be on Tron, it can be on Ethereum, it can be on Bitcoin, Ethereum, whatever you want, which makes it very, very interesting to create contracts with, because it also makes a lot of other blockchain solutions obsolete. There's no need for wrapping. There's no need for bridging or whatever. You can just create, burn, and that's where the tiers come in, and do everything you want to do with, for instance, DeFi, and do that on the Quant Network dashboard. You want me to bring that up for a bit?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, and this is the Quant Overledger and Chainlink.
That's Chainlink. Yeah, and that results in CCIP.
Couldn't resist. So here you see on the screen the QRC-20. This is a screenshot from the developer platform, the dashboard. I don't know if it's up right now. It was up, then down, up, down, up, down. They're creating and updating all the time. But what you see here is a tier 1, 2, 3, and 4. A tier 1 smart contract will have create credit, approve debit, create debit. And then tier 2 has those 3 plus mint tokens and burn tokens. And after that, there are more options. I do not have them on this screen. But it gets more complex. You can add to like up to 12 or 15 even different features. Maybe Tim can look that up in a bit and share that. I want to share all my my privacy stuff on my computer.
Yeah, what do you want me to share with you?
The same thing that we showed in the Dutch group, the entire unfolded see more on the tier 4 and the tier 3.
I did send it to you personally, but I can share it again if you
like.
like.
No, never mind. I'll find it. I just stopped sharing my screen. I'll look it up and then I'll open it.
I can share it again if you like. I also have it here on my screen, so I can share that if you like.
Yeah, go share that. Yeah, then, that's easy.
You're going to see my screen. Where is it? Oh no, that's not.
Oh dear. I'll blur that out.
Okay, so we have, wait, this is tier 4. Need to go one back. No. Yeah, we start here with tier 3. So yeah, like Jarno said, you have increasing functions. Maybe you can get back on the more technical stuff.
Yeah, so what is now added for the tier 3 is the add account, remove account, add owner, remove owner, and set owners, meaning that you can make your smart contracts even more complex and just manage it with multiple people. And when you go to the tier 4, Tim, can you click that?
Yeah, of course. Wait 1 second. Should be here. Yeah.
Then you get also authorize intermediary, revoke intermediary, create push hold, create pull hold, execute hold, extend hold, release hold, authorize approver, revoke approver, create credit approval, create debit approval, cancel approval, accept approval, execute transfer, and reject transfer. If you look at a smart contract, being technically somebody puts money on behind a window, somebody else puts the product behind a window, you just switch windows. That's technically how a smart contract works. It only executes when all the variables are met. Then you can see that when you go to a tier 4, you can make it very complex, and it means you can include multiple people, you can create multiple factors, multiple blockchains, probably. So you can get a lot of what ifs, then logic, and now I'm gonna shut up about it because I'm gonna dig a hole so deep I'm not gonna get out of it again.
Yeah.
But yeah, Tim, go ahead.
No, just to put a long story short, they are adding a lot of functionality to, well, the type of contract that you want and how you can create it. So the higher the tier, the more you pay for it, and also the more stuff you can do. So yeah, that's that. But did we still answer? I'm going to stop sharing this. What is QRC-20 then?
It's
creation.
It's a new token standard created by Quant.
Yeah.
And that's what it is, or a new smart contract standard even. There's also a quantum QTUM.
Yeah, because that's not the same thing, right? That
No.
was confusing in the beginning. People were like, "Hey, we've seen this, but it's apparently
no,
not the same."
They created that in, from what I've read on Telegram, 2017, when Overledger didn't even exist. It's not the same thing. It doesn't solve the same problems. It just carries the same name.
That's interesting though. It has the same.
Yes, it is. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just don't know, and I don't particularly care to figure that out. That's okay.
Yeah, true.
It's no.
Yeah, it's kind of a technical discussion here, and it goes a bit above what I know of Quant. I try to cover it as good as I can, and the same goes for Jarno, but we are not the type of tech guys to talk about this aspect. But it is interesting though, and it did show us a new step in, well, the development schedule of Overledger. They have had this release schedule that they published somewhere halfway 2021. I think it was somewhere in May that they published it. No, a bit later, like in July or June, that they published the midway technology update, in which they published a release schedule for the rest of the year. That has been reshuffled since. We expected the gateways to go live with 2.1.1, but that didn't happen. They rescheduled stuff, and we are now still expecting everything to release.
Yeah,
and
there were there were also two schedules that seemed to became intertwined, being the Overledger functionality and the Overledger Network functionality. Also, there's a separate roadmap that was created regarding enterprise adoption, and that had its own little different, how do you call that? Iteration coding.
Yeah.
They didn't use the 2.1, but they used the 1 point something, and so very confusing.
It is, especially when you're just an outsider. Or we're not really outsiders, but we kind of are, since we're not developers. Anyways, Martin Hargreaves, the chief product officer of Quant, who's been with the company since the very start, and said in a video that that they published on Twitter and that I also posted on Instagram and on Telegram, so you've probably seen it. He said in that video, and I found it very interesting, that the QRC-20 creation is one, at least, and the stuff you can do with it is like the first in the series of smart contracts that will be supported by Overledger. So I'm really curious what kind of other stuff we can expect. So more is coming, and we will have to wait and see what it will be at least. So that was good. That was very good news from the Quant team. Just another update, and it wasn't the only stuff we've seen. We've seen more, and we tried to cover that in the Dutch podcast. It actually took us some time because a lot happened, and a lot didn't really happen. It was all kind of on the background, pretty much.
I'm looking at something now. It's a little bit speculative. It's a Fnality update. And I'll start sharing my screen.
Yeah, this was the question that was also asked about Fnality. We can definitely cover it.
Yeah. So what you see here on the left is the Dutch QNT group.
Yeah, join it if you're Dutch. Then it's fun.
Yeah, there's a link in the description and stuff. I also updated the description with links to the Quamfy Lounge, main, and there's also obviously the links in the top right to Quant updates and Quantpedia.
Quantpedia is a must go if you're in Quant.
Yeah, that's like community managed Wikipedia, but everything.
It's basically the Quant Bible in a way.
Yeah. It's just the Wikipedia on QNT, all the speculation, everything that's verified, all the research is in there. So what you see on the screen here is the tweet that Jeff forwarded, and that tweet leads to what you see on my screen here on the right. What makes it interesting, because Fnality is not just something. Gilbert Verdian, as you can see, has written in main, we speak to Fnality a lot. They're a settlement technology. We can interoperate Fnality with all blockchains. And this is a little bit aluminum hat or tinfoil hat for some people. But Gilbert came in main a lot. So in the main Telegram group, that's also again in the description, so you can search for yourself there for his quotes. And he likes to drop breadcrumbs. I think that's the hacker in Gil still. He sometimes can't say stuff, but he can say stuff that makes you think that he actually said stuff, so you can do some research and, well, that breadcrumbs. And
he also drops those little Easter eggs.
Yeah.
Sometimes he says something and then later he edits his message and then it's different. It's funny.
Yeah, but Fnality was named, and what's interesting is that they celebrate completion of a landmark DVP proof of concept. That's delivery versus payment. That's kind of like the smart contract story that I just told you guys. I looked it up here, and it says, what is delivery versus payment? DVP. Delivery versus payment is a securities industry settlement method that guarantees the transfer of securities only happens after payment has been made. Delivery versus payment stipulates that the buyer's cash payment for securities must be made prior to or at the same time of the delivery of the security. And that's a pretty big mouthful. It's just a very difficult way of explaining that if you want to buy something, you need to pay for it, and payment needs to be done before you can get what you ordered. And right now it can take a lot of time.
Yeah.
And in that time that it takes, then obviously the world is moving so fast, means that prices can fluctuate, commodities can fluctuate in value and in price, meaning that if you order something and you pay for something and the time between that, then nothing is happening, nothing is moving. Then both, or at least one of the assets is stationary. So optimizing that is very desirable, and blockchain and stuff makes that quicker, way quicker. And again, that's where my knowledge ends. I know from council of Quamf, from reading some things, that this is like kind of like a holy grail if you can solve this with interoperability, because a lot of banks and stock exchanges and all those big entities are still using data centers with old obsolete tech, like 40 years old, 50 years old. They pay millions to billions a year just to keep it maintained. Some of these things even work still with floppies or worse. So how the fuck are you gonna let that communicate with blockchain, DLT, or even just the regular internet? That's a problem, because you cannot switch many of those things off. There's no on-off switch. It needs to go gradually. You can't overnight transfer an entire system with 60 years of history to a new system, to a new USB drive or whatever. So how do you make one thing work with the other? That's a big problem. And because Quant is able to solve that, and because of Gilbert writing that they spoke to Fnality a lot, and seeing what Fnality does, 1 and 1 makes 2. If it walks like a duck, it's probably a duck. Or what was that called? That expression?
If it walks like a duck, it
Quacks like a duck. Yeah. It's probably
it
a
looks
duck.
like a duck. Yeah, it's probably.
Yeah. And what you see then here in the under the bullets, UK fintechs Fnality, Nivora, and Adhara collaborate with NatWest and Santander to execute first cross-chain pilot debt transaction on public Ethereum and Fnality payment system. Again, a mouthful, and what you see here is what they write is a cross-chain thing that's going on. The first bullet says 3 UK fintechs and 2 major European banks have successfully conducted a proof of concept showcasing the benefits of distributed ledger technology, DLT, in offering near instant settlement in capital markets and payments. The first cross-chain pilot debt transaction on public Ethereum and Fnality payment system. Fnality is one step closer to the 2022 launch of their first Fnality payments system, FNPS, which will enable wholesale payments in real time with near instant settlement in a central bank money-backed digital cash asset.
Nice.
Now let's do the last 3 bullets as well. Nivora provided an automated workflow platform and integration with public DLT for asset creation, settlement, and payment administration. The ecosystem testnet that facilitated the payment lag was developed in collaboration with Adhara. NatWest acted as dealer and issuer in the pilot, with Santander fulfilling the role of investor. And the big question is, why isn't Quant named when all the other tech solutions are? And the question is, we don't know. Probably because they can't, or because they don't want to. Because if they have like this really big tech advance, this like holy grail, why would you share it? Yeah. On the other hand, we also do not know if they use Windows or Apple, and we don't know if they maybe use Linux. Maybe they use an Atari, I don't know.
We don't know whether they use iOS or Android.
So that layer of tech is not regularly disclosed. Unless you're in crypto, then you want every fart to be smelled all over the internet. But businesses usually don't necessarily do that unless they absolutely positively have to for transparency. but it's safe to assume, based on the research that the community has done, that in the background Overledger is being used because of what we tried to explain earlier in this video, is that there is no other solution right now that can that has proven to can interoperate legacy with DLT and blockchain, or work truly cross-chain with many systems. And from what we gather from this article, this is what happened. Anything to add on this, Tim?
Not really. I must confess that I wasn't aware of the news. I've seen it briefly. I saw it being shared, but yesterday was a busy day for me, so I didn't spend all the day on my phone.
It's been up for over 24 hours, Tim. Almost 28.
Yeah, well,
shame on you.
Yeah, well, yesterday I was in a masterclass about being assertive, so now I'm going to assertively respond to it. Also, I need to mark my limits, and cannot always be.
No, man.
Yeah.
There so much happening in so little time.
It's a very crowded space, and you cannot always keep track with everything that's going on. And well, if Quant wasn't mentioned, I didn't consider it relevant. There are obviously some breadcrumbs, but there are a lot of breadcrumbs. Someone said, well, if you collect all the breadcrumbs of Quant, you can start a bakery.
Yeah.
So I wasn't aware of this, and apparently Quant isn't mentioned. Okay, well, no big deal for me, at least. We'll have to see what happens, and if Quant is being used, that's nice. If it isn't being used, well, that's a shame, but I don't really care, honestly. But it definitely is good to see all those banks collaborating, working on new payment structures. It definitely is interesting, but I didn't have the time to cover this.
No, obviously. I also forgot this Twitter response from Ultra Quamfy. Ultra Quamfy is one of our FA gods in council. He calls himself main spammer or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, he's just spamming the console with spamming.
He calls it spamming himself. Yeah.
But he's just flooding the console with all kinds of leads and breadcrumbs. And if you connect that, you see a certain pattern.
Yeah,
anyways,
he also added this. Fnality's launch of its DLT-enabled payment system is scheduled for October 2022 and will be enabled by the Bank of England's new Omnibus account, which opens up the full potential of their unique distributed financial market infrastructure. Is that the same? Is that what I've written? I read earlier? I don't know. Well, what's interesting about this is because they talk about the Bank of England. Quant is also on the UK Gov's website for interoperability. So they are also vetted by them, because some people asked in another group, not on Instagram, has Quant's code been independently verified? And obviously that's a question you want to ask in crypto, because there's so much corrupted code going about. But Quant has been verified by Oracle, because they have Oracle certification now. Gilbert wrote a bit about that in Maine as well, that they have been busy with Oracle to get certified for over a year. They're the first and only crypto company right now being certified by Oracle, and Oracle is the second biggest software company in the world. So that's no small feat at all. Also, are they verified by the UK government? They're also not slouches when it comes to creating their partners. You will not get on the UK Gov's website and get named by them if you're some basement dwelling. Oh, let's leave it at that. No. Same goes for Australian government, SIA obviously, and also a big one, LACchain, which is the Latin America and the Caribbean blockchain initiative. Right now built up of 12 different countries in South America. Those are all using Overledger in a way. So there's a lot of utility going on already, but there will also be a lot more utility in the future, and the token will be needed for everything. Also, a question we get a lot: what if they go IPO? If they go for a public offering and they're going to offer equity in the company, will then the token be obsolete?
Yeah.
Absolutely fucking not, because the token is not used for equity purposes now. It is used for securing the network.
Yeah.
And the network simply does not work without the QNT tokens. When? On the phone. When?
When what? When?
Do you think we make new all-time high this year? Why does it seem like nobody talking about Quant?
Yeah, we've covered this.
When moon? How many Quant take you to the moon?
How many Quants? You have to. I can Google that for you. I can look up what SpaceX and.
If you stack them really carefully now.
Yeah, I can ask Richard Branson how much Quant he would charge to take you to the moon. Probably a lot.
There's probably not enough Quant to stack to get to the moon. Now,
what would space tourism cost? No, but yeah, well, I can. It's difficult to answer those kind of questions because it really depends on the country where you live. It really depends on your living standards.
Depends on when you entered, or if you have entered at all. Are you waiting for 4 bombshell?
Yeah, well, I would say anything above 100 Quant at the moment is good. Also below it, by the way, it really depends where you live and what you can afford when you enter the market. Look, at some point, it's not really going to matter if our predictions are correct. If we really believe where Quant is going, we might see it at 5 digits at some point. So then the question should be how much Bitcoin do you actually need?
Yeah.
10, 20, I don't know.
Yeah, if you make the comparison between Bitcoin and QNT, I really love to do that. Then there's fewer QNT than Bitcoin, 21 million for Bitcoin versus 14.6 and change for QNT. The amount of holders that hold QNT, rounded up, 45,000 people hold QNT. Bitcoin has a little over 200 million holders. Bitcoin is only used as a store of value or for trading right now.
Yeah, or as a currency in some countries, but
yeah. And Quant will be needed for everything on at least 5 continents: Europe, North America, South America, Australia, Asia.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure about Antarctic or the North Pole.
Africa also exists.
Yeah,
but any partnerships there?
No, that's a good one.
Yeah. There must be something. I mean, I cannot imagine that the biggest continent doesn't have any partnerships. That's so weird. We're kind of always oblivious to what happens in Africa while it's the biggest continent out there.
Yeah, fascinating.
It's such a blind spot. It's terrible how we treat it. Also, actually, that's funny. On Quant updates, actually, I think Nigeria is one of the countries which follows. People from Nigeria are like the 5th country that follows us. So shout out to everyone from Nigeria.
Yeah,
happy to have you here. It's good seeing F1.
It could very well be that projects are using Overledger there, because from what I remember of Terra or Luna or whatever you want to call it, really confusing project. But if I remember correctly, they're doing quite a lot of stuff in Africa.
Yeah.
With their different currencies and.
Actually, now we're it's not really Africa, but we didn't mention this in the Dutch one, and we should mention it here. I did see some news. It's not Africa. It's the kind of the Middle East. It's about the Emirates, United Arab Emirates. I saw that SIA and a couple of other companies are building something there as well. I think it's in collaboration with the central bank.
That's right.
They were building the CBDC, I think, something like that. I saw it happening. It was in between the. I shared it in Quant updates as well, but SIA was in there, and if SIA is there, then we are there probably as well.
There's technically Asia, the Middle East, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Continent wise.
Yeah.
See next year UAE.
Together with Accenture, I think, and some other companies. Ripple.
Oh, that one. Yeah. Accenture to develop UAE National Instant Payment Platform.
Yeah.
Due by February 2nd, Accenture, New York Stock Exchange ticker ACN, has been selected by the Central Bank of the United States, the United Arab Emirates, to lead a consortium of companies to help execute its national payment system strategy. In collaboration with SIA, now part of Nexi Group and G42, Accenture will build and operate the national instant payment platform over the next 5 years.
Nice.
And by default, because Overledger has been integrated into SIA's core infrastructure, when they merged with Colt and when they merged with Nexi, they automatically onboarded Overledger, meaning that Overledger is now used by at least 1,000 banks, of which like 10 or 12 central banks.
And it gets even crazier.
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
No, because effectively, the Nexi Group is now the biggest fintech of Europe when it comes to payments.
Yeah.
At least the biggest payments group. And
Yeah.
Nexi Group is also partnered with. It has this other name. I'm not sure what the name is, but there are some other companies, including Ingenico and which you see a lot of those payment terminals, and some other company. Anyways, but they are collectively partnered in one bigger holding, which consists of all these companies. So if you look at it in that way, it's even bigger.
Yeah, but only SIA alone has its own fiber optic network.
Yeah,
stretching 180,000 kilometers and connecting like all continents of the world. It's really amazing, and that alone should send price at least 4 or 5 digits.
Yeah,
and that at least 2 years ago. But hey, what you gonna do? The most under-recognized, undervalued crypto project out there, without a doubt. What is interesting is communications are picking up in a way. It's not the way that everybody likes. It's not the way that everybody wants. And with everybody, I usually mean the people with the biggest mouth that are anonymous basement dwellers on the internet, crying, screaming when moon. And also I am disappointed in a way, because there was this payment channel challenge year and a half.
There was something going on in the main channel, right?
Yeah, the remote connector gateways were supposed to launch in the middle of 2020, and that was when the developer group was created on Telegram, and there was a challenge to set up a gateway. I participated in that, and we had like this time frame of like 10 days to get through a certain questionnaire and some assignments, and I really struggled. It was quite difficult, since I'm not technologically schooled, but it was cool to do, and it was interesting, and I invested a lot of time, and then we never heard back, not really. And even I wrote a text on Telegram asking to at least give us an update, or at least give us a reach around, I wanted to say. But why are you not laughing about it? Never mind. But just to let us know that it's appreciated, and eventually they did that. But communications in that regard are not great, and a lot of stuff has been postponed over time, and communication has been few. So people are disappointed, and people are complaining. But on the other hand, shit is getting done, and the company is growing like crazy, and everything To me, from what I gather, from what I see, it has never ever looked better. Yes, the price appreciation. Yeah, we were at 430 burger tokens, and now we're back to 150. Yeah, shit happens. When moon? Yes. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
One moon. Yes. Yeah. I like that answer.
It'll happen. It will happen. Just sit it out, accumulate
Yeah. The
as
thing
much
is,
as you can.
we simply don't know when things are going to be announced. We are just closely watching the company. There is so much to cover. I noticed that from the top of my head, I just can't. Usually, I have a very good memory, but the scope of this is so big that I just can't keep up with all the details, and you really need to devote all your time to it if you want to really understand what's going on in quant. I just can't do it from the top of my head. I roughly know all the connections and details, but
There are even so many articles and tweets and things posted in Telegram that
yeah,
even if you're on your phone the entire day, I
you can't
cannot
keep up.
manage to keep reading everything.
Because that's the thing, right? We are invested in like 28 different verticals, and we are indirectly connected to what happens in all 28 of them, and we are focusing a lot on what's happening in payments and finance, because that is basically what crypto is mostly about, or what it focuses on. But in the meantime, there are 27 other verticals that we are also related to. So I cannot keep up with everything. If something happens somewhere, also Oracle, that's interesting. I think we're obviously an Oracle partner, because we are kind of integrated now into the structure of Oracle Cloud. So all the cloud computing that's done through Oracle can use Overledger if you like. And Oracle teamed up with Red Bull Racing in the Formula One. And now it's not Red Bull Racing. The team is called Oracle Red Bull Racing, which is a huge thing if you ask me. It gives kind of more publicity to Oracle. They're more visible. I saw that the deal, Oracle's paying $100 million a year to just have their name on that car. That's insane if you think about it. So it just shows how huge that company is, and how they don't really care about 100 million. It's like nothing to them. And that's also something that happens. And I found that interesting. And in the meantime, we have all these central banks working everywhere to develop their own platforms, their own currencies. We have the digital rupee in India now that's being introduced last week. Somewhere this year, at least they announced it last week, and it's to be developed this year, I think. Will Oracle, will Overledger be used? Who knows? We might see it, because also in India we have our connections with ICC.
Yeah, ICIC Bank. Yeah. They name dropped QNT in one of their presentations.
Yeah.
Was pretty big as well. I want to say something, I forgot. New article this morning on the Quant CEO.
I didn't read it yet, but it's nice to go through it together.
Let me share this, because what's funny, I screenshotted this because when I saw it on the website, I was like, okay, they're definitely gonna remove this. So this is screenshotted. You can also see it here. Screenshotted. And fun fact, because I tried clicking it earlier and it said not acceptable. So that link doesn't work anymore, but we got it here. They did it again. Yeah. Quant CEO profiled by Digital Rubicon. Blockchain interoperability will transform global payment systems, says Gilbert Verdian. February 10th, 2022. Our CEO, Gilbert Verdian, is profiled in this week's issue of Digital Rubicon, a newsletter written by former HedgeWeek and private equity wire managing editor James Williams, that explores how digitization trends are shaping the world of private market investing. Gilbert recounts the origins of Quant, how he helped establish the blockchain ISO standard TC307 in 2015, and why ultimately he believes it's blockchain interoperability that will transform global payment systems. He tells James, quote, blockchain allows you to safely trust the networks, the cryptography, the scalability, and the resilience to run monetary transactions on a better network. The next iteration or evolution of these DLT-based networks is going to be one that runs the world's transactions globally, unquote. And that's the snippet that was on their website. Let me undox myself for a bit, then see if I can, because this is the digital Rubicon article. And that's still up, I think.
Yeah, it's still there. In fact, the web page on the Quant's website is also still up. At least the link that I shared.
Interesting. Then they probably just changed the link from what I shared to the Dutch group.
No. Classic Quant.
Why doesn't it work from my computer then?
I don't know.
Okay. Sorry. Quant CEO Gilbert outlines the potential for interoperability to unlock the full potential of blockchain networks. I'm just going to read the intro. The aha moment for Gilbert came just a couple of weeks after Satoshi Nakamoto, a benign Kaiser Soze figure, published Bitcoin, a peer-to-peer electronic cash system in 2008. The founder of Bitcoin had developed a decentralized solution for holding and trading digital currency. A cybersecurity expert, what most interested Verdian was the truth that such a network could bring to the programmability of money. I'll link the article below.
That sentence is problematic, if you ask me. Like, a cybersecurity expert, comma, what? Okay, well, we'll link the article at least. But I think in this article they kind of briefly go over Gilbert's career, and then somewhere, if I remember correctly from what I've seen, is that they also talk about the current use cases of Overledger, and then they mention some stuff like blockchain is also being mentioned.
Yeah, so they're talking about the ISO standard that Gilbert created, ISO TC307,
yeah.
Which is patented and adopted by 57 countries. Another interesting snippet, because it says Web 3.0. With Web 3.0 beginning to build traction, the next few years are likely to see significant blockchain application as a global business develops different protocols to operate in a more decentralized version of the internet.
Yeah,
it's interesting because they state a more decentralized version. That's also one of the main criticisms that people have on Quant, that it is quote unquote centralized, simply because there is a centralized aspect to it, and that logically started at Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is super hyper decentralized, because nobody created it. The creator is anonymous, so there's no entity that can be charged or attacked or rewarded or questioned.
People claiming that some kind of secret service or some intelligence agency created it to take it all down at the end of the day. The US created it. If you invest in Bitcoin, you're going to lose all your money.
What the problem is with decentralization to the scale of Bitcoin is that there's nobody to be held responsible, and there's no control. There's no trust. How paradoxically is that the banks and the enterprises, before they want to work together with a company, they need to know who they're working with, because they do not trust. And the thing that blockchain is supposed to solve is trust itself. Because with smart contracts, you do not have to trust the other party, because if the other one doesn't bring his bit to the table, contract is not executed. So that's the zero knowledge proof kind of thing, kind of stuff, isn't it?
Yeah.
So going 100% decentralized is a problem because they do not have control. They have nobody to hold accountable. They have nobody to call when it shuts down. Imagine Bitcoin being the world reserve currency, the one that has 51% of the network's hashing power, has the power to change the network. That's how it works. Correct me if I'm wrong, please. So that means that you're going to get a hash rate war. If Russia now adopts Bitcoin as their currency, the United States cannot have that. So they want that too. So they're going to create all their own mining farms, meaning that the way Bitcoin is designed, the Russians going to create more hashing power. Then the Yanks going to create more hashing power. That means there's more hashing power all around, meaning that the difficulty will go way the fuck up, meaning that they have to create more hashing power because they want to control the network. And that means that global warming will become even worse and Bitcoin will destroy the world. How did we get here? Now, but that's a problem. And when a little portion is centralized, like our treasury is, and I say R, the royal R, the quant treasury means that there's always a point of control. There's always someone to hold accountable, judicially, legally, which is very important because you have somebody that's liable and responsible for the network to a certain degree. Obviously, all the information that's going to be sent through the Overledger network and through the treasury will be sent also over many nodes, which decentralizes it a lot, so that tampering with the data is technically not possible. That's what you want from decentralization. Okay, but I digress a lot. Tim was already zoned out.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the stock market.
Need to diversify my portfolio.
No. Anyway, yeah, sorry. You were just rambling about
I know
decentralization again.
I know. I'm sorry.
But there was something in that article still about blockchain, but we didn't. Anyway, you can read it in the description.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just so.
I'll put it there.
Zoning out when Jarno starts his story about decentralization again, and it makes perfect sense. Like if you haven't heard it, you need to hear it, because indeed you cannot build something which is completely decentralized, because if things go wrong,
well, you can build it, but you cannot expect big enterprises and banks to adopt it.
Well, exactly, and that is our point. So read the article. It perfectly explains briefly what Gilbert has done and his vision. And it's also something that he said years ago. It's not new. It's one continuous vision for all those years.
Yeah.
He's just slowly building it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, one other question. I didn't saw it in the Instagram, but people always ask, if the token is going to be so valuable, why aren't banks buying it?
Yeah.
Well, banks are not buying it because tokens are a liability.
Yeah.
They're super volatile, and the reason why they can become so valuable is exactly the reason why they do not want them, because they can also become so unvaluable in a very short time.
Yeah.
Like the 80% drop we had, 81% even in the last months. Imagine the shareholders of the bank or the enterprise. I mean, there are people literally roping themselves if the S&P drops 10%, 5%. Then there are people dangling in the stairways all over Wall Street. Imagine 80% in a week. Man, there won't be any rope to buy anywhere. It'll be a problem. Now, people are just scared.
Ropes.
Yeah, you need now. They don't want the volatility. Tokens are a liability. Just the difficulty for companies to get Bitcoin. I mean, obviously, there's micro strategies and some other companies with a very how do you say that, charismatic nut at the top. with maybe a lot of leverage or whatever, or a good story.
Charismatic nuts.
Yeah, I mean, those people can sometimes convince their board to invest all their cash into an asset like Bitcoin. I mean, that's one thing, but if you're a bank and you literally live from people that are saving their money at your establishment and you're lending that out usually, and now you're speculating on an asset that can drop 80% at any time.
Yeah, it's
Not worth the
problematic.
upside.
I do want to backfire you here a little bit, though.
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
we do see more and more companies now investing. Also, KPMG has in Canada has announced that they will put some
Absolutely.
amount of their treasury into Bitcoin and Ethereum, and I think
And ETH, yeah.
As the market cap of Quant is going to grow over time, and it gets some more stable, we start to stabilize at least, then it will get more interesting for companies to enter.
Yeah,
So
that's
not something I would rule out, but yeah, at this moment, your point makes perfect sense, because you're not going to invest in something so highly volatile.
also, if a company wants to invest, say MicroStrategy, how many Bitcoin do they buy at the same time? Millions or billions? Hundreds of millions. Last time they bought for at least a couple of 100 million, I think. They have over 5 billion in Bitcoin right now.
Could be the case, yeah. I'm not
Numbers
sure.
ranging like that. Quant daily volume on average is about 5 to 10 million right now.
No, it's higher. It's definitely around 50 million, but still,
Oh
that's
yeah,
very,
that's right.
very low.
I'm still with my brain in 2020 sometimes.
Yeah.
But that's a problem. And most
Yeah.
companies, when they buy shit like that, they want to buy in volume, they want to buy in bulk, and they don't want to move the needle. It's simply not possible.
No.
And Bitcoin, like we said, has 200 million users.
Yeah. And we have 45,000 wallets, not users, because the centralized exchanges are obviously are counted as one wallet, and we simply don't know how many people are on centralized exchanges.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, you can still compare the metric, because that also works for the other cryptos. So yeah, it's still a valid metric, but we don't know exactly how many people are invested in Quant.
5
now
minutes.
We're talking about banks, and that's where I want to stop this episode. Well, at least end this episode.
Yeah.
Is Revolut. Apparently, Revolut is now offering Quant as well. I saw it happen Tuesday night somewhere.
Piltney.
Someone,
Piltney was able to buy QNT on Revolut.
Revolut, yeah. So apparently we are there now as well, which is great. So it gives us more exposure. It's just
I cannot check. I do not have an account, but he was actually able to show us a screenshot where he bought 0.1 QNT on Revolut, which is very interesting. Yes.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah. No, we have all this news coming our way this week, and I'm really interested where we will be around this time next week. Hopefully a bit higher, but yeah, we simply don't know. We'll have to see. I'll try to keep you as updated as I can. The same goes for Jarno, but then on Telegram, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah.
Definitely. Make sure. Yeah, make sure to ask your questions. Make sure to leave a like, give us a follow, press that subscribe button, and
just ask us anything that you want to have clarified. That's the reason we're doing this in English, because you just noticed that a lot of people are at least asking me a lot of questions, and also on other platforms. So ask us this stuff so we can actually do a deep dive for you and explain it to you. Because it's also good for ourselves, because we have to stay sharp, and well, it's also a good exercise to kind of try to explain what's going on with Quant, and definitely also listen to the other people talking about Quant, because our level is way below them. I think there's going to be an interesting podcast this week as well, or at least an interesting conversation on Twitter with Santiago Velez and the Three-Toed Slot, Hungarian Horntail, better known. So and some other people. So definitely check that out that weekend. Listen to them instead of to us. No, we're going to end this here.
There's just there's not a better or a worse kind of thing.
No.
I mean, listening to Ghost and Greg and Horntail is amazing if you are good in English, if you can understand English properly.
Yeah.
If you're a little bit tech savvy and you know the project, they're trying to dumb it down, but those guys are sometimes so high IQ that when I start rambling out every now and again, even you zone out and I don't know shit. So it's nice to have our little tavern style of presenting stuff.
Definitely. I think that's exactly the charm of this podcast, because we really go back to the basics. We bring it down to everyday investors. We just put some money into Quant or their entire life savings. I saw a poll today on the internet by Crypto Nagato. This is really the last thing I'm going to say because Jarno needs to leave. And he put a poll on his platform on Instagram, and he asked his public, "Hey, should Quant updates DCA further into Quant? Yes or no?" And then around 85% of people on the internet say yes, but guys, I have no fiat left. I'm already 99% in.
We're broke as fuck already.
Yeah,
we don't only have magic internet money.
Yeah, I only have water and ramen noodles, guys. That's how broke I am at the moment.
I got syrup.
Nice.
Yes.
Okay, let's leave it here. Thank you for listening. If you made it this far, appreciate it. And if you have any questions, let us know, and we'll see you next week. Stay Quamfy.
Stay Quamfy.